Woo! Let's go, baby.
Hello, hello, hello.
What's up,
everybody?
y'all? What's up, everybody? Thank you, guys. Welcome to another podcast of Just Like Us. I'm your host, Justin Bird. This is my lovely lady co-host, Leti Zeta.
Hello.
So,
welcome in, everybody.
And to all of those who are joining for the replay, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you guys showing support and love. Appreciate that. Okay, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about owning our narrative. It's our story and our power.
That's right.
All right, let's dive into it. So, owning our narrative. Take control so no one else can define it for us. You know, it's my life, it's my journey, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab the bull by the horns and make sure that I'm the one that's producing what I need for me to be better. So, yes, again, thank you guys for joining us. Leti, would you want to add anything before we get started?
Gosh, just owning your own story. It's telling it your way, not trying to hide behind what you think others want your story to be, but being, honest about where you've been, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Right. But then you get the chance to write another story.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So, reframing our struggles into lessons. I feel this is important because we want to be able to shift. At least I do shift, like the why me to why. What can I learn?
Yes.
Instead of being something that's why me. I want to make sure that I'm gaining from whatever I go through or whatever I'm allowed to get or gain. I like to think on the more optimistic side of things, like I have to go to work. No, I get to go to work. I want to be able to reframe the way I structure words, because words are so powerful. And I think it starts from within. Before I even voice it, I think it. Before I think it, I got to be able to at least have some kind of a structured frame of what I want. So I think being able to voice how I'm feeling is very important, especially to myself.
Right.
One thing that I will say is that when I was in prison, I ended up quitting smoking just to really see how strong I have of a free will. And I did. I was around, it was a bunch of smokers, but I wanted to be able to write my own narrative just because I'm in a place where smoking is like the thing to do. I mean, let's be real. Prison can be very boring, but I was smoked, and the way I did it was I was able to stop smoking by not telling a bunch of other people that I was going to quit or even telling anybody else. My whole thing was, I can tell you that I'm going to quit, but it would be a lot easier for me to lie to you than it would be for me to lie to me. And I'm in a place where I had a whole lot of clarity. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of violence, but I didn't allow that to be a part of my world. Even though it was next to me, around me, I stayed focused mentally. And it was very important because I wanted to see how strong I am to me for me. And being in a place like that where smoking was like a thing, I said, you know what, I'm gonna quit smoking in here. And even if you didn't smoke, you smoked in prison, because it was just like you had to take the time to roll a cigarette, you go smoke it, and it was something to do, as crazy as that sounds. But I by me not telling anybody else that I was quitting, it was very impactful for me, because like I said, it's easy for me to tell you, and then I could end up lying to you, and that's probably not that, it's a big deal, but it wouldn't be as impactful as if I said it to me and lied to me. Go ahead and lie to yourself, see how that works out. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, so I wanted to test my ability to see how strong my free will was. And so I did. I ended up giving the little bit of tobacco I had away here, a little bit there. So I didn't have to answer. If anybody asked me, I didn't want to feel like I had to answer, I'm quitting. I didn't want, I just wanted to really, my free will, I'm writing my own story, my own narrative. And I want to be able to quit even the things that could potentially be difficult for someone to quit. But again, I just think that I have a very strong will, no different than anyone else, but I test my limits for me because I'm writing this book. I'm writing my own narrative on where I want to be in the next 2 days, 3 months, 4 years. And even though I don't always look that far ahead, I do like to think that I have a very strong will. And for me to be able to do that, I have to look within for me to be able to be exuded outwardly. So yeah, that's something that I like to share, the stories of me quitting things, especially the things that are like poisonous for me, the things that are not good for me. I recently have wanted to quit cussing, and that's kind of been a struggle. But I for some reason I'm able to do this around children, like super easy. It's no big deal. Like it's like some clicks, and I'm like, babies are around, kids are around, and it's just I don't do it. So maybe I need to get to that point. I need to get to that point where I think cursing is it can be foul. You know what I mean? I was actually out. Me and Justin were out the other day, and we went to the bowling alley, and I knew one of the guys there, and he said, "How you doing?" I said, "Oh, same, different toilet." And this lady had her kid by me, and she like scooted her kid like, and she told her a better half. She's like, "Yeah, same, different toilet." And it was like I was embarrassed for me, and I was like, and it was really kind of like where I was like, man, I need to really quit. And then I got on the phone with one of my buddies, Caesar, and we decided, I'm gonna go ahead and quit. If I quit everything else, why not quit cussing? Because I mean, the little things that we may laugh about, like me quitting coffee, is not a huge deal, but I'm sure there's an impact on my body that it takes. So I think these little steps that I'm taking to better myself are they're encouraging to me, because I'm like, I can do it. I can do anything. If I could quit this and quit that and quit this, I could definitely quit cussing and quit coffee and quit, So I mean, it's important because I'm writing my book. I'm writing the narrative for me to be able to walk through this life, and when I turn that page, what am I going to be reading about myself? So I think it's important because I reflect and I looked at myself as someone who's powerful, loving, caring, and I could go on for the things that I feel about myself. And it's important. I like to feel that I enjoy who I am as a person, and I think that other people can see that as well. Because again, if you feel good about yourself, others can feel good about you too. You know what I mean? So yeah, on that note,
that is where it starts. I love that you said that. When you feel good about you, others can sense that and see that and feel that, right? And then they feel good about you too, because that's what you exude. And for years, right, I hid behind fear and anxiety. I dressed the outside when I should have been dressing the inside. Right. And I was so afraid to have people know my story, all that, because I didn't feel good about my story. I wasn't owning my story. I was constantly trying to write another story without, living in the story that I was in, and accepting, myself with all my uniqueness, my flaws, my greatness, my fears, everything. That means accepting everything about who you are. Sometimes I cuss. It happens, right? The best thing to do is to not beat yourself up. It's accepting who you are completely and wholly.
Let's go.
Right. And not trying to please other people like that. I'm like a recovering people pleaser too. So
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I do it. I like to see people happy.
And I do. I like to see people happy, but not to the point where it's causing me pain. Right. And so I want my yes to be yes and my no to be no.
And that's an addiction, really, to me. I get a high off seeing people smile at me. I was actually talking to one of my sisters today, and I mentioned, when I come around the corner and somebody like legitimately is like genuinely happy to see me, I love that. I was at a store today where I was working, and like I hadn't been in this store for like a month, and like all the people seem like, "Where you been at? What's up? Hey!" Hit the corner like, "What up, man?" You know what I mean? And you get that smile of like, they're happy to see you, and I enjoy that. So for me, it's like a high. I don't want to say it's an addiction. I'm just saying, but for me, I get something out of it because it feels like I'm impacting people, and it just feels good to feel wanted. Who doesn't want to feel wanted wherever you go? You know what I mean? So it's important, I feel, and again, it's like it exudes outwardly when I'm an extrovert. So for me, I'm able to see people being happy around me, and it just like a full circle. I see them happy, and it just charges me to just go that extra mile. For me, it just feels good. You know what I mean? And I speak to strangers like on a constant basis. I'm constantly meeting people, constantly seeing people, and saying hello, telling them I love them, and it's I feel like it's necessary for me, my character, who I am, just because that's what I like. I enjoy that, and I think I make an impact on people. So I love doing that. So again, that's just part of me. That's the narrative I'm writing. Of me is like I'm extra like loving, I could say, I'm extroverted really, and so I mean there's a lot to say about me, and I enjoy talking about certain things, but I really enjoy who I am as a person. So
what was one narrative that you had to change about your story, or that you didn't like about it and you wanted to change?
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, that I was, I like that. That's a good one. One thing that I part of me that I've been able to change that I didn't like would be constantly in and out of incarceration and addiction. And I think the word addiction is a very strong word, because it's almost like they say it's like a disease. like or dis-ease. I don't really, I don't want to call it either of those. I mean, addiction is one thing. I'm not going to lighten it. I'm not going to say that it wasn't heavy, but like I feel like a disease is something that you have inside your body that is like you're not going to just go not drink and get it out. But I mean, this could be controversial. I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole on this, but for me, when I was able to quit, it was a choice. It wasn't like I have cancer in me and I don't have the ability to not battle it. You know, so it was the simple fact of I could either want to not do something and drink alcohol or substance, and I did that, and it was like as hard as it may seem like it was, you know, it was the weekly withdrawals and the monthly mood swings. It was me who was able to step up to the plate and say, I want to be better for myself. There's so many things around me that show me that I'm supposed to be here. People need me to show up. People are waiting for me to step up and be the best me. Because again, even though I'm writing this narrative, there are other people who are constantly helping me write it too. Because, you know, I don't have to do anything, but I also feel like it is my job to step up to the plate and be the best me because several people look up to me. I've had a lot of people in my years say, man, I really look up to you, dude. You're somebody that I've always looked up to. And I mean, a lot of people have told me that, and I hold that dearly. And I really take it, you know, seriously, because when I look at it, there's a point in my life where I was constantly using or constantly taking myself out of from reality, so to speak, and not dealing with the things in life that, to me, I'm blessed to have these stressful times. To me, I'm lucky to have even the worst case scenarios. I enjoy, you know, being able to look at things from a frame of mind of like, I will find the good stuff and everything. Like, and not everybody's like that. Most people I know probably have, you know, troubles making things positive, but I don't. I've been practicing for so long that I just feel like it's a way for me to, like, again, like if something negative happens, I'm gonna find the good in it. That's how my mind works now. That's the narrative that I'm writing. Is I want to be able to find the good because that's what helps make me tick. And again, it's not for everybody. I get it. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't really necessarily agree with things being all positive. What do you say? Positive Polly or negative Nancy. I'm really, I like to look at things on the positive side because that's just how I'm built. And I built myself up like that, writing my own narrative. I wasn't born like this. I wasn't born just like, oh, everything's gonna be all good. I'm like, man, I got every reason in the world to be stressed out, depressed, but I got every reason in the world to be happy and excited too. You know what I mean? Like I got a lot of things that I feel like I like to bring to earth. And I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging, but I also like to know that I'm worth my words.
I think it's, you know, we don't always want to be talking about the negative, right? That's not the story that I want to lead with. It's part of my story, just like being positive is part of my story, right? I think when we're owning our narrative, it's owning it all.
Right. Yeah.
But we get to choose what story we want to lead with today.
Yeah.
And I've been telling, you know, that story that I wasn't worth anything and, you know, life was happening to me, not for me.
Right.
You know, when I changed my narrative in my head to what can I learn from this? Okay, this happened to me. You know, but what did I learn from it? You know,
like
and that I was able to shift my mind. I had to start thinking differently, talking differently so that I could act differently, because the narrative I was telling myself, it was just like this big hamster wheel. It was the same, you know, like that Groundhog's Day. I just kept going around and around. I kept telling myself the same story and I kept living the same story every day. Fear, anxiety, depression, not feeling good enough. You know, like I said, I was trying to clean the outside of my cup instead of the inside. I was hoping that I could shine up the outside enough so that the inside would shine. And it's really the opposite, right? We need to clean up what's going on inside, because when you clean up what's going on inside, it automatically shows on the outside.
Right.
And so, you know, I want to, the story that I want to tell today, and it's been messy.
Right.
It hasn't been glamorous. And, you know, us being on this podcast, like there were some things that we had to go through before getting here.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not ashamed of that story
at all.
You know, I had a lot of trauma in my life. I've had a lot of things I've done to myself and that others have done to me, which caused me to tell, you know, this negative story about myself. And even through all of that, I was still able to be kind to other people, to, you know, talk to strangers, to, you know, show a smile, to compliment someone
Right.
else, even though I myself didn't feel that. Because if you don't feel those things about yourself, there could be 100 people telling you these wonderful things about you.
Right.
But if you don't believe it and you don't feel it for yourself, what they're
Right.
saying to you doesn't matter. It's
Absolutely.
what you're telling yourself that matters the most. That's what I've learned. And when I was in that closet, with my pen and my pad, like I was just writing and writing, like things that I wanted. I didn't believe it yet, but they were things that I wanted for my life. And this podcast was one of those.
Mm.
And this was while we were using.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember coming to my partner and saying, we're not always going to be here.
Nope.
This is not always going to be us. I can see a way out of this. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know, how we're going to do it, but we're not always going to be here. And
she looks nice, don't she?
Anyway,
she looks super nice.
Stop it.
My bad. I was saying, don't she
it.
look pretty? Like, dang, what's your name, girl?
Thank you.
She looks
Anyway,
pretty.
I started to allow myself to think about things that I wanted,
Right.
instead of talking about, God, I'm not getting it. I was one of those that was like, why is this happening to me?
Right. Why me?
I was
Simon Birch.
and and it didn't feel good. So I had to start reaching for thoughts like, well, maybe, what if I decided to feel this way? What would that feel like?
Right.
To me? And it was scary. I would go back and forth like, nope, that's too scary, because the way I've been feeling has been so comfortable.
Right.
Yet it was miserable.
Right. Okay.
But comfortable.
Let's go.
Right. And I had to do things that I wouldn't normally do. I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Boom. That's right.
And I started to just do it. Like I said, I read, I watched podcasts, I listened to music, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote.
Right. Okay.
Right. To get it all out. And that's what helped me empower me to accept the story that I had been living, but also understand that I can write a new story.
Yes.
Right? I don't have to stay stuck in that story. It's a part of me, but it doesn't define who we are.
Right.
Right. It's just a part of my story.
Yes.
So I get to do new things, think new thoughts, and act in new ways that can bring me clarity, understanding, that can empower me. And you can do the same too.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
yes, thank you.
Back over to you.
So, and I think inspiring others by sharing our journey to me is impactful, because again, I see so many people that are like, man, you stepping up to the plate has helped me. And I resort to a couple of stories that have happened recently, because I've had some pretty close people to me that have just really poured into me, as far as like, by me doing what I'm doing and stopping the vaping, the nicotine, all these several things. I've had people that close to me say, "You've inspired me," and I find that to be a catalyst, something that it drives me to do even better. Like, again, if I can quit this and that, then what's keeping me from writing this narrative of me being the best me? Again, I'm sober as a gopher right now. Like, I don't even have nicotine, caffeine. I don't have nothing in me. And I feel fantastic. You know what I mean? I do. I still feel like I'm having certain stages where every now and then I don't have a want or a yearn for anything anymore. Like, not even caffeine. I don't ask Leti. Like I'm legitly, I don't get up and want coffee. I don't get up and want no vaping, nothing. I'm good. And that means that to me, I'm finally okay with the new narrative of me. New year, new me. 2025 is like already starting out fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just have so much clarity. And so by me taking the little small steps, here and there, again, I'm nobody who I don't think that I'm like better than anybody. I'm not like the superhero or nothing like that. I just feel like I'm showing up for me and I'm rewriting my book as I'm going, being able to, tear these pages out and rewrite them, because I don't have to stay stuck on one particular paragraph or one particular chapter. I'm keep pushing. I'm gonna keep moving forward and make sure that everything I do is with intention, and that my intentions are going to be positive and good for me first and for God first. You know what I mean? Because we're one. And I really want to make sure that I'm showing up as a new me for me, so that I can impact other people around me, because it's important. I see the impact and the how I'm able to help people in such a way that I was not blind to, but I just wasn't allowing these blessings. I was blocking them. So my blessings weren't coming in as abundantly as I needed for me to see, dang, I really am necessarily and really am needed. Our people really are expecting me to show up. And I don't do it for them, but I do it for myself to be able to impact others as well. Because I know some people that are around me that are like, that are just as giving as I am, that are just as loving and opening, just as open as me. And those kind of things attract me. Those kind of people are the people that I want to feed into and to pour into and to get more from, because that's what I want. I find myself being more of a giver. And of course I have to be able to put the mask on, but where we're headed, like there's so many opportunities. And I just want to make sure that I'm definitely showing up for myself, you guys. You know what I mean? It's my book and I'm writing this. And yeah, I love you guys. And we're here for each other. You know what I mean? So let's make sure that we're starting to write our own narratives. If there's something that we could do better, now's the time. Let's just start one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, because ain't nobody gonna write my book for me. That's a fact. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't work like that. I mean, maybe I could pay somebody to write a book for me, but it ain't gonna be the same. I'm writing this. I'm steering this vessel, making sure that I'm the one in control. So, you know, let's make sure that we're writing the narrative that we, and I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm just suggesting from my point of view of what I've been able to do in a short period of time is I've been able to conquer so many, like some monumental, like these some huge tasks at hand that I've been able to accomplish. And it took me to do it. You know what I mean? And again, having the right who's around, Letty's been like a huge, she's empowered me in so many ways. We've had such a great, I mean, we've had our ups and downs. We're coming up on 6 years, y'all. What do we got? 10 days from now, we're coming up on 6 years, y'all. And that says a lot. This is the most, for me, like the most, I guess, how do you say, stability I've had like in my whole life. It's like 6 years is a long time for me. At any given point, it's like up and go, up and go, up and go. Go to jail, lose everything. Go to prison, lose everything. Come out, nothing. As a matter of fact, I came out of prison with the orange sticker on the door I was paroling to, and I was tough. I mean, I paroled to my mom and Nate, and they weren't doing as well. You know, they were both in their addiction and their you know, traumas and stuff. But I came out and I was like, I really had to push forward to make sure that I had a place, because if I didn't have a place to go home to, I'm going right back to the yard. That's just how it is. If you don't have a place to parole to, I came out literally. I came off the bus, or actually my friend Michael dropped us off, and I go to meet my mom and Nate, and there's an orange sticker on the door. We were locked out, and I'm like, dang. So for me, those kind of things, they helped me to structure like what I do want. I want stability, and we have this. Like Letty's giving us the like the most open love that I have ever had. So having this relationship with my better half has been amazing, because I've gotten so much love, so much passion, so much care, and it's important to have the right who's around us, y'all. It really is. To me, that's, you know, that's where I start, you know, making sure that I'm writing my narrative for my story for me, and then I can impact others. Justin Lee sees it, and he's showing up for me, a little kid, and he wipes my tears away. You know what I mean? Having a little boy, sweet. Oh, Dad, I love you. You know, he sees me crying, and usually I'm crying from tears of joy, because I enjoy who I am as a person, and it'll be little things that, you know what I mean, like acts of kindness that tear me up. And you know what I mean? And I love seeing this little boy see me like that, because ain't nobody gonna stop me from being me. And I'm very passionate. I'm passionate, empathetic, sympathetic. I have all these good things about me that this little boy gets to see firsthand, and it shows. When you guys see this little boy, you're like, man, he really is. Like, he's a lover. You know what I mean? He's a very loving, open person, and we'll cry together. You know what I mean? He'll wipe my tears, and I think that's special. You know what I mean? I think it's special to have somebody like Letty to hold me up when I'm down. You know what I mean? To have this, you know what I mean? We have a really a solid thing. And again, like any relationship, it has ups and downs, but we make it through it. We've been through, you know, some thick stuff, but we're still ticking.
We're still here,
still
y'all.
making it, y'all. We're still here and impacting. You know what I mean? Again, like the word for this year is for me is going to be I forgot my own word.
It's okay.
Was it?
That's all right.
That's my North Star, and I don't have my North Star right here. But you know, I'm just glad to be here, being able to make an impact, because again, I think our podcast is starting to grow, and momentum is my word. So yeah, we're starting to grow, and I just feel like having you guys here with us and seeing this as we're going and growing, it helps. You know what I mean? So thank you, Letty, for everything that you do for us, and you know what I mean? It's important to have beautiful people around you that want to see you thrive and grow. And again, it's not always easy to rid the things that are not necessarily for you, but it takes us to start writing our story for us. And again,
I think that's why it's so important to get to know yourself, right? And through your own eyes, not just through others, but through your eyes. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? What's your opinion? Right? I just would kind of like you know, I was so afraid of letting people, you know, in all the way. It was always very like, you can only come this far. That's good.
Right.
You know, and I can remember a time where I had a conversation with my sister. She's like, I'm coming over here every week and I'm giving you the tea on my life, yet you never say anything to me. And that's because the perception of myself was I have to be so strong. I can't let them know, you know, what I'm dealing with. I'm here for them. Right. And I had to flip the script. I have to be here for me too,
Right.
because being there for everybody else left me empty.
Mm.
And then I was left like with, well, what is my identity? I lost my identity. I lost who I was in other people's stories of me, you know, and we're so afraid to be like vulnerable. And we
Right.
think
Yeah.
nobody wants to hear our story. Nobody cares. And there might be people that don't, you know, and that's none of your business. You're your business.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
Right. And you deserve to have your story told. Your voice matters. Right. What you have to say matters. What you have to give the world matters. And it takes courage to, you know, get out here, on here, out there and tell your story, you know, and own it.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to be ashamed of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Everybody's got something. Right. We're so busy judging each other like, well, I don't do that, but they do this. And, you know, we're all out here struggling sometimes, you know, and some of us more than others. And just a kind gesture, you know, just a smile, a hi, a compliment to somebody can mean so much to
Yes.
them.
I agree.
You know, it
Yeah,
really, it
it does.
does. It
Yeah.
lightens, you know, the mood, and it lets people know that they matter.
Yeah.
That's what we all
That's
want,
right.
is we
Yeah.
want to know that we matter,
That's right.
that, you know, we're worthy. But you've got to start telling yourself those things too.
I agree.
The same
Yeah.
things that you would tell other people, start telling them, you know, to yourself. And it's a process. You know, not every day is going to be like rainbows and roses.
Just start yelling
you
at
know?
yourself. Just tell yourself in
I've
the
done
mirror.
it.
Just start yelling
I've
at yourself.
done it.
Man,
Like, I
man, I
love you.
love you, dude. You fired.
Yeah.
We had this skit that we're gonna do, and instead of yelling at each other about negatives, we're like, I love when you're around me. I can't stand being away from you.
Right.
And I think it sets the tone of like, instead of being negative, like of course we could yell, and the first thing that comes to mind when we're upset is, you know, you want to yell vocal things, you're upset, you're mad, you want to lash out, or you know, whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
flip it. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying for me, like, I
If
think
it's
the idea
not
is
working, try something else.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Keep trying something else
Vulnerability.
until it works.
You know,
I say.
I think vulnerability is like, there's a humility behind being vulnerable that can be, you know, a way to learn from, because when you're able to dig deep and like surface these things, and maybe it's not for everybody, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a way to challenge yourself to say, I haven't really been able to express myself, and again, finding the right people to be around that will let you express this without feeling like judgment, I think is very helpful. You know what I mean? Because if you're around people that are going to put you down, man, I'm not going to tell my homies that, you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell these dudes that are gangsters that, you know what I mean? Like if I don't feel like it's going to be heard and valued, I don't want to be around somebody who doesn't value me.
Right.
And so if I am, I'm not really going to be what I'm expecting, you know, me to be heard about around the people that, so it's important to find the right people. And if not, get with God. First of all, get with yourself. And again, I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm just saying, take the small steps. If you're struggling with any kind of, you know, with self-doubt or just we write our own narrative. We're making our writing our own story right now. And to me, it's important for me to show up at the best I could be. And I'm writing my book. And again, last year was a great year. I'm not going to reflect on it too much, but it's fairly new for me to be sober on my own accord. It's usually me being, you know, clean and sober and 100% me on, like, you know, the notion of probation or some kind of parole or CP or who knows. But I know that me showing up for me like this, it feels really good, because nobody's going to do it for me like me but me. And I feel really good that I'm able to do these things. And again, I don't mean to keep pushing the issue like you can do it, but we can. Like, we can literally start making our life to our best needs right now, because we have control of it. Like, ain't nobody's grabbing me by the face saying, you better say this or you better do this. It's me that's doing stuff, and I have control of this. So it's important for me to just let you guys know, like, if I can do it, y'all can do it. And when I say y'all, I mean anybody who could be facing, I mean, there's anything. We have addictions for so many things. It could be a number of things. I mean, some of us have addiction to arguing. Like there's so many things that we can
Chaos.
do. Hey, yeah, so people, I mean,
You know.
several things. You think about it, and I mean, just food is a big one for me right now.
Self-sabotage.
I think food's huge for me right now because I'm hoping to break free of the chains of the addiction side of the food, because whether you like to believe it or not, these foods are extremely addictive. I'm telling you firsthand, it's been the toughest one yet.
Studies show
It's been the toughest one yet.
Sugar's the hardest thing to quit.
Yeah, and it's in everything. So, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but we do want to say before I close it up, is there anything else you got to say, or would you like to say to the people?
I challenge you to, get alone with God and let him talk to you about who you are. If you can't be vulnerable with someone else, get with God, be vulnerable with yourself, write it down, but start somewhere. Start letting your story out today.
Right. Okay.
Right. Because you are worth it. You deserve to be heard. Right. And we want to see you win. We do. We want to see everybody win. We're all in this together. Right. And just to be respectful of people's stages and phases of where they're at. Right. And accepting all of you, the parts you don't like and the parts you love. But maybe if you've been focusing on the parts you don't like about yourself, how about maybe start writing some things that you do like about yourself? That was really hard for me because I was someone who focused on, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, this is happening to me because that's happening. And, I just sat quietly in that closet, closed my eyes even, and went back to the beginning when I was a little girl. What were things that I liked about myself, and kind of worked my way up, till I had a couple columns.
Right.
What I didn't like, what I didn't like, how can I get it over to this column where I like it? How can I accept that? How can I love myself? God, what does that look like? And he just kept showing me, things I could do. And it starts with spending time with you, with yourself.
Yeah.
Sitting there, with all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ooh, I got some.
And letting it out. Go ahead.
On that, like what you're saying, when it comes to, for me, just recently, like I think it was yesterday, the day before, I had a tiny bit of what I think would be considered like a depression. I don't know how else to describe it, because it just like comes out of nowhere, and it very seldomly happens. But and instead of me having something to go to, like it could be going to drink a soda, or when I had this feeling, I just sat down with it. I just sat with it, and what helped me was, again, typically I would go to substance, I would go to alcohol, I would go to a cigarette, and I get that, just that, the high or the fix. But instead, like I sat down next to it, and I had that look of like nothing really felt like it was like, very it didn't seem, like recognizable. And so I just sat with it. I sat with what it was, and then it passed. And I was like, okay, so anytime this comes up for me, I'm going to remember that when it's uncomfortable, I'm just gonna sit with it. I'm gonna be cool with being uncomfortable with it. And I like that, because it's like it puts me in control. I'm able to write this narrative by, I'm not gonna let it sit with me forever, but I'm not gonna ignore it either. Whatever this is, I'm not gonna try to figure it out. That was what it was important for me. I don't want to figure out what this is. It's obviously something that's coming into my body for whatever. It could be food, it could be stress, could be, many things. I don't need to figure that out. All I know is it's here. I'm gonna go ahead and sit with it, and I'm not gonna fight whatever this is. If it's depression or whatever that could be, I'm just gonna let it take its course. But I'm not gonna sit in it and dwell in it for too long. And thankfully, by me allowing it to just kind of pass, it did. I wasn't trying to fight it or trying to go subsede it, or like be in drugs or anything else. I thought that was really powerful. So yesterday was just another stepping stone for me to be able to say, I have full on control of what I can do, whether I feel like it or not. And I found another way to deal with stuff without having to go to substance. And I thought that was very powerful. So anytime I go to that, I'm just going to go ahead and sit with it. You know what I mean? Me personally, I'm going to sit with it, let it take its course, and I'm not going to let it dwell. You know what I mean?
And I think, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got.
Yeah.
So if you want something different, you've got to do something different. You've got to do something that you've never done before. And it is uncomfortable. But the other side of that, right? The other side of that is a new story for you.
Yeah. I like that.
The truth about who you are, that you don't have to hide behind behind you anymore. You get to present yourself. You know, we don't have to hide anymore.
Let's go.
Right? We can show ourselves kindness, show ourselves love, right? And work through those, like you said, that's sitting with that uncomfortability, you know, those feelings, and not judging them, but just like, you know, whatever we assign meaning to, that's what it means to us. So for me to get from everything in my life that happened meant this about me, meant that about me, I started to think, I started to get curious. Could it mean something else?
Right. Yeah.
Could it mean this? Could it mean that?
Instead of just letting it take its
And,
course, huh?
right. Instead of just letting it take its course like I had always done, which
Right.
just made me feel lower and smaller.
Right.
Right. It made me contract. What can you tell yourself that's going to make you expand and feel
Go.
big
Hey,
and feel,
like
you know,
that. I
loving
like
and
that. Yeah, I
feel
like that a lot.
open
Right.
versus this? This doesn't feel good,
Right,
but
yeah.
this feels great.
Yeah, and looks great. You look
And looks great.
fantastic.
You're welcome.
Love this.
And so I just want to encourage you. How about, you know, sitting with yourself and thinking about what else it could be, you know, and asking it, what are you here to teach me? Right. Instead of resisting it, because whatever we resist persists, I've heard.
Boom. I
Right.
like that. Yeah.
And so when you're not fighting it anymore, then it opens you up to other possibilities. Right. I'm in the habit of looking for the thing that feels better, reaching for, you know, even if it's just a step up. Okay, that feels good. Okay,
right.
that I could believe that. And your mind is going to fight you. It's going to be like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm comfortable over here. We have to confront it. We can't heal what we don't acknowledge.
True.
Right.
I mean, not true, but yeah. I
So,
like that. I like
you know,
that.
even in our story, it's accepting all of it.
Mm.
Right. And then getting that pen out and literally writing a new one, focusing on a new story about yourself. What do you want for yourself? Where do you see yourself?
Right.
Right. And even if you don't feel it, you can start thinking about it. You can start talking about it. And before you know it, you'll start acting it. You're inviting it to come in, and life is going to show you exactly where you need to go. You have all the answers within you. You know, we don't have to look out there for people to tell us how we are. Is it nice to hear compliments? Of course it is. But don't be dependent on it, because those might not always come. You got to be your best cheerleader. You got to say, you know, how you think about yourself and hold yourself in high regard, because not everybody's going to. Sometimes they're dealing with their own stuff and don't have the capacity, right, to be there for you in that way. You got to be there for yourself, so that when those storms of life come, or when people are rejecting you, you're able to say, that's not my story. That's none of my business, right? You got to be your business.
Boom.
So with that, we just want to thank
you.
all of you for
Yes.
joining us
Thank you,
tonight.
guys. Woo.
And just a reminder, you can catch our other episodes on Spotify.
Support us.
Just
Let's
like
go.
us, that's where we're at on Spotify. So again, thank you
Thank
to
you, guys.
all of you who are viewing
Joining
this
live.
and all of those who will join after
The
this.
replay, yes.
We love you guys.
Yes. Woo, let's go. Thanks,
Peace.
guys. Until next time, we go live on what? Wednesdays and Fridays at 5
Wednesdays
p.m.
and Fridays.
PST. Thank you guys for joining us. Peace. Love y'all.